Hey, welcome to sunny Edinburgh. I've been doing some more design work today, and this is one of the projects that I have been working on, my latest one. And this is a host with a screen share and 4 guests. And below that, I have another scene which is similar with 5 guests. And now, what I want to do is create one with 6 guests. So, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a photo of that scene there in Ecamm. So I'll go up to recordings and just hit save photo. And the reason is I want to take that and I want to drop it into my Keynote deck. Now you can already see my Keynote deck in the screen share. So that's where I'm going next. I'm going to go into my Keynote deck. So I'm now into my Keynote deck, and you can actually see the sort of templates that I create in Keynote, which I then take and drop back into Ecamm rather than trying to use a grid, because I find it much easier to size everything and make sure it's evenly spaced by using Keynote. But you could use whatever is your favorite drawing package. They'll nearly all have some form of alignment and distribution going on, where you can just grab shapes and get them to evenly distribute horizontally, vertically, etc. And it's much easier than trying to move things around and hope they're aligned with a grid. I find I'm moving things 1 pixel left, 1 right, and 1 up and 1 down, and then it still doesn't look quite right. So this way I can guarantee that the boxes are in the right place, and I can ensure that they're in the middle of the screen and stuff like that. So for instance, if I look at this set of 4 boxes here, and I go and grab the 4 boxes in Keynote, I know that they are evenly distributed, because when I grab all 4 of them, I can come up to the top here and I can click distribute horizontally, vertically, evenly. I'm not sure what the difference is between evenly and horizontally, but let's unclick them and move them around a little bit just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So if I thought that I wanted these boxes, I just make sure the left one and the right one are in the correct position where I want them, and I come up to distribute and I distribute them horizontally. Then it's going to bring them all lovely and horizontal. Now the other thing that it does, which is not particularly obvious but it's very important to me anyway, is now that I've got them all selected, I can actually move them to the left and to the right, and you can see that center line dropping in there to let me know that they are in the center. So that group is in the center. So that's one of the most difficult things to do if you're in Ecamm, is to play about and get everything into the center. And the same is true for the middle of the page. So if I move them up to the center of the page, then I know that when the crosshairs appear, that is dead center of the page. So it's a very easy way excuse me, of getting things distributed throughout your screen. So that's what I would tend to do. And in terms of overlaying it onto Ecamm, what I actually do is I will create a new blank scene. I will come and get my photograph, which I just took a few minutes ago, assuming I've got the right one, and I will drop that in, and that's already got my screen share in it with 5 guests, but I don't want 5, I want 6. So it is a little bit fiddly to work out what the distance is between each block and how big each block could be. But the way I actually do that is that I have created a little shape to look at the gap between things. So shapes, box, he says, looking around the screen. You can't see me doing this, but it's on a sort of monitor in the sky. So what I do here is I create a box and I want to see what that width is. Now I happen to know mine previously was set to 44 as the width. That's saying 49, 46, 43. But as long as it's something in this region, then I know that I am more or less correct. So the gap is what I'm interested in here. So it's saying 46, so I'll live with 46 as the gap number here. And that gap then should be the same throughout here, wherever I go. I might make it just slightly smaller. Okay, I'm going to make it 44. So that's my gap here. And I'm going to want, if I have got 6 placeholders across here, I'm going to want 5 gaps. So in this case, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps. But in this case, I'm going to want 5 gaps because I've got 6 placeholders going in. So that means I need to do a little bit of mathematics. So I'm now going to just pause for a second while I go get my calculator. So we're saying that the blue box is 44 wide here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that blue box and I'm just going to make a duplicate of it just because I can. And I want to find out what the total width is across the screen here between the two borders here. So I happen to know that I had that set at 150. So it's what's saying 147 there. Very slightly bigger. So it's saying 147. So 147 is the total width of the screen. So what I want to do, or rather the width that I want to use is 147. So let's make that, in fact, let's make that pink, just so we can talk about different colours. So the pink long area is what I want to put my 6 blocks into. So I need to have that total area, which is, what was it again? Size-wise, it's going to be 1747. So I want 44 times 5, because that's the number of gaps I've got, which is 220. And then I want to do 1747 minus 220 and equals, pause while I press the right buttons on the calculator again. Hang on. So 1747 minus 220, 220 being 44 times 5, gives me 1527. And then I want to divide that by 6 to give me the size of my box, which comes out as 254.5. So I will call that 255 or 254. We will see which one looks better. Hardly makes any difference, but 254 will be the width of the box that I need to create. So if I go up to my pink box again and I make that 254, then I know that's the size of the box I need for my 6 different elements. So I'm just going to edge that up so I can see it fits it in nicely and bring it down. So that will be the shape that I'm looking for each one of my different boxes when I come to drop them onto the template. So I can duplicate that and I can just move that to the end of the screen till it's level with the edge of that box, and I can duplicate it again. It doesn't really matter too much where these go because I'm going to be able to distribute them evenly anyway. So providing I've got my 6 boxes on, roughly on the screen in the right place, then I know that Keynote will distribute them for me evenly between the 2 end boxes, and it's already lining them up as well, which is nice, but Ecamm kind of does that for you anyway. So distribute those horizontally, and they're all nicely distributed now. So that is where I want my placeholders for my 6 different people to sit. So what I now need to do is get rid of this temporary picture in the background because we don't need that anymore. But what I do need in the background is a white box. So I'm just going to grab a white box from the previous scene because I know there's one on there, and it's covering the whole screen. So 1920 by 1080. Pasted it over the top, send it to the back, and that is my template for what I'm going to drop back into Ecamm again. So here is my template. I've still got my blue box there. Let me just get rid of that blue box, otherwise it'll annoy me because I don't need that anymore. So grab everything like this and then just do Command C. Then I'm going to go into preview and do paste from clipboard, and it will paste then a 1920 by 1080 image onto the clipboard for me. I'm then going to save that, and save it in this case as template 11 or T11, and then I'm going to drop that back into Ecamm. So while I go and just do that little bit, I'm just going to pause the recording for a second. So back in Ecamm again. So all I did, just to reiterate, was copy everything there, take it into preview and make a copy from clipboard in preview, and then I know that I have got something which is the correct shape and size for my template to drop back into Ecamm. So in Ecamm, we can see on the right here, I've got a list of all of my templates that I've been using, and it's template number 11 that I'm going to be dropping into Ecamm, which is over here. And what I'm going to do is create a duplicate of this panel scene here. So here's the panel scene. Let's just duplicate that, and we're going to say it's a panel, and this time it's 7 people because it's the host and 6 guests. So it's a panel with 7 people on, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that T11 there template, and I'm going to drop it in over the top of my existing scene in Ecamm. And now I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see everything a bit better, because I no longer need that window over there. So let's get rid of that one, and we'll zoom in a bit. So hopefully that's okay. And I've got my T11 template just here, and what I need to do is click on the template and reduce the opacity on that template to say 50% or thereabouts. Like it to be an exact number. So 49 is not good enough, 51 is not good enough, 50 for me. So I've made it 50%, and I'm going to lock that scene now, so I can see through that scene to the sort of pinkish blobs of where my cameras now need to be if I'm going to have 6 of them rather than just 5. So here's my cameras, all labelled copy of. Shouldn't do that, should label them properly. But for the moment, that's the one in the top right hand corner, top left hand corner, sorry, as I look at it. And here's all the other cameras along the lines. So I'm just going to take that camera, the first one there, and I'm going to shrink it down until it's the size of the pink box. So that looks to me like the size of the pink box. So now I'm actually going to get rid of all of these other cameras, purely because I want my cameras to be exactly the same size. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to put them into the bin, assuming I can find the bin, which means I'm going to have to scroll a little bit, I think, because the bin is just off the screen. Put those into the bin, and we'll scroll back in again. Never envisaged that the bin was going to cause me a problem there. So onto that camera there, and I'm going to just duplicate it, and it will line up with the camera below it, and I can see there that that's nicely lined up on my pink box, and I'm not having to worry about a grid or anything like that, because I can see that it's nicely lined up against the pink box. Does that one need nudging slightly? Maybe. So you can see it moving in and out of the pink box there, and there I can see it's lined up. So I just keep duplicating till I've got them nicely lined up with the pink boxes. And Ecamm does the lining top to bottom for me, so that's cool. And it will also, when I do this last one, it will line it up with the screen share above as well, so you can see it's got 2 blue lines on there. So that's me done now with my template. So I can actually get rid of the template now. So put the template in the bin, and suddenly I have my 6 placeholders here. So I think the names are going to get a bit large, aren't they, here? But let's show you how I move names and things around as well, because we've now got our cameras all in place. So if I want to move Henry's name around, because Henry is the first name that I have on my list on the left hand side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the 2 Henrys, or the Henry plus the blue block behind him, and then I'm going to create a little folder. We'll just leave it called new group at the moment, because it doesn't really matter what it's called, because we're only using it on a temporary basis. And I'm going to link that group together and go unlock the box for the word Henry, and that allows me to then move everything around as a group. So I can move things around as a group. Now I'm thinking here, these boxes for the names and the names itself are probably getting a bit big once we've got for 6 people. So I could go and change the size of all of those. I'm not going to in this particular case, just for demonstration purposes, but I probably will do for the final product. So that's me done with Henry, because I've moved Henry to the right place. So we'll just pop Henry back down here. Then we'll look at Steve, because he's next on the list. So I'd select those, drop them into the new group, make sure one of them's unlocked, then I can definitely move them about, and I can see that the 2 lines are lining up with the name, and I've got the line in the center for that one as well. So that's how I do it. I'm just going to repeat those, and I might resize the boxes slightly as well. So come back and see if I do. Hang on, pause. Okay, so here we are back in live demo mode again, and I did choose to make the little boxes slightly smaller. So that was a remainder of my moving my groups around. So I can now get rid of the new group folder. And what I really ought to be doing is locking things down here just for good housekeeping. So I should have all of these locked and named correctly. But I also want to just order these in the right places as well. So that's Martin and his name block. I want to put that at the top. And Henry's next. So where's Henry? Henry and his text box. Just because I like to have things into the right order. And then we've got Steve, Nicola, Steve, Claire. So come on, Claire, move yourself up. Claire, Nicola, Sheena and Sarah. So Sheena, you need to be promoted to here. And I should really lock all of these in as well. So that's really me done designing that page. But the key here was that I didn't have to use a grid. I've used the power of Keynote because it automatically sizes things for you and positions them and aligns them correctly. So my top tip would be, just maybe think about things and try and do them that way itself. Let me zoom back out again, which I always forget to do this. So window, options, come out of live demo mode, so that you can now see what that looks like as a whole screen. Now, of course, normally I wouldn't be showing you my Keynote slide because that's not particularly exciting. So let me escape out of Keynote. And that's not that exciting either, but it gives you the idea of what this actually looks like when I've created the total scene. Now, one thing is, and I've mentioned this before, I think that Zoom at the moment, Ecamm doesn't bring through the name placeholders, so it may well be that you want to get rid of all of the names or some of the names. So you could keep your host name in but hide the rest. So if I was doing that, then I've got everything in a names folder so that they all appear nicely and disappear together, but I might want to keep my text in there for my own name, so I'd have to move that outside of that folder so that that stayed there, but I could then hide all of the other names. And I've just done that out of live demo mode, but you get the idea. There was a folder there with all the names in and they disappeared. So while I'm in here, let's quickly show you through a few of the other scenes that I've got settled on in this particular version of what I'm doing. And now I notice that the sound has gotten a bit bonkers again. Let me see if I can stop that. Okay, resume after a little technical hitch with noise coming through from various different locations. So hopefully you can now see these are some of the scenes that I've got set up in this particular profile. It will be available for download, and sooner or later, depends on how long it takes me to tidy it all up, because that's one of the things that takes a little bit of time, is tidying up these profiles. But the idea is that we have a selection available to us, and this one has got comments on it. So I've kept it nice and clean and simple, and of course you can go change the colours of backgrounds and things as well, or indeed anything else that you want to on here. And there's a couple of different flavours of these, but I think clean and simple was the name of the game on this particular occasion, as opposed to super fancy, which some of the other ones do sort of get that way. In this case I have got all of the ones we've just created. So here we've got my created different panel guest versions, and that one with the slightly smaller version of the names on or names off, dependent on what you want to do. And then I have a similar sort of situation with people and an active speaker. So I've got a few different designs for the active speaker in the center, and the idea is in Zoom that somebody jumps into the active speaker automatically, and I quite like to make the other cameras black and white other than the active speaker as well, because it's kind of a nice effect. So that's something you can do, but you do have to do some real housekeeping with the Zoom active speaker. It's super sensitive. If anybody sneezes or coughs and they're not on Zoom, they will jump straight into that middle window, and you don't want that. So you need to make sure everybody is on mute and ask them, hey Sheena, come off mute and join us on the main screen, and then she can join you on the main screen. But you're going to have to do that. If you don't, trust me, it's not going to work very well. So that's me for today. Hopefully you like that, and hopefully I'll get around to finishing that. But soccer has just started, and I think it's Spain versus Germany, so I might go and watch that and come back and do a little bit more of this. See you later. Bye from Edinburgh. Cheerio.